Looking to find collectible figures at low cost with superior customer service? Fanboy Collectibles is one of the largest retailers of high-end collectibles on the east coast of the USA, carrying a full array of hot toys, enter-based, sideshow collectibles, 3A and all the top manufacturers. Domestic and international packages shipped daily, all fully insured with tracking number and securely packed. Getting it to you as quickly is important, but not as important as your collectibles arriving in pristine condition. Are you looking to pre-order an item to guarantee you don't miss it when it's released? Well, Fanboy Collectibles does that too. If you got a question about an item, give them a call, shoot them an email, or even leave them a message on their Facebook page. Fanboy Collectibles is available full-time to respond to you and to get your items to you as quickly as possible. Anyone can make a sale. Fanboy Collectibles knows the key to being successful is repeat customers. That comes from doing the right thing by you and making customer services their priority. Fanboy Collectibles. For some it's a hobby, to them it's an obsession. Hello and welcome to episode 29 of the Hottoycast. I won't go into my usual, anecdotes about what episode this is. We've got a special guest on our show, and we're delighted to have this particular guest on our show. It is Mezco, and is Mez himself from Mezco. How are you doing today, Mez?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Thank you very much. Yes, excellent. We're delighted to have you on because, quite frankly, people are going nuts for Mezco at the moment. You guys have what I would call have hit this sweet spot, I think. And you know you're hitting a sweet spot when, CB from the Four Horsemen is raving about it. When he raves about something, you know you've hit a home run when he's raving about the figures. And he's all over the 112s. And as is my friend Pixel Dan and a lot of others. And I have the only one I have so far is the Dread. I have the Dread 112th. But we know you guys have been going for a lot longer than that. But it just seems that this 112th scale is really caught on fire. But before we get into any of that kind of juicy stuff, I'd like us to maybe just go into just a little bit, and just a little bit brief history about yourself, why you yourself got into the industry, what were the reasons for setting up Mezco? Was there a particular catalyst for all of this stuff to happen?
Could I just round it off by saying I'm a glutton for punishment, or? Honestly, the real short of it is that I've always wanted to make toys since I was a kid. When kids are that 5 or 6 year old age where they're living somewhere between reality and a dream world, and they want to be firemen or spacemen or cowboys or cops or whatever the heck it is they want to be. I literally always wanted to make toys. So I've been fortunate enough to actually see that through. That's pretty much the short of it.
What were your favorite toys as a kid then? What were the ones that kind of fired you up the most?
Oh God, there was a lot. I kind of had a problem. It was all over the place. It could have been anywhere from the old $6 Million Man doll to
always wanted that.
To the 12-inch. And it's similar to the way I kind of creatively work now with toys. I kind of fall in love with thing at the moment, and then stay in love with them. But apparently, there's some big love thing going on where I keep adding things into the relationship. I had this doll called this figure called Pulsar. It was somewhere between a doll and a figure because she was just so massive.
The Mattel
that had a whole. I guess it was Mattel. I don't remember, but he had a lot of pumping organs inside of him. I loved that thing. 12-inch GI Joes was huge for me. Mego stuff was huge for me. Micronauts. I've been having an ongoing love affair with Lego since before they had Lego people, and I still probably spend more money on that than I'd like to openly admit.
Oh yeah.
Only because they're so goddamn expensive now.
Did you get the Ghostbusters fire station? Is the question. Did you get?
I did. I haven't started to build it yet. I've been traveling a lot, but I just finished my 1966 Bat Cave. My girlfriend and I are gonna get into the Ewok Village. We built the Echo One already.
Oh, right.
She likes to build stuff with me, and then next up is the firehouse.
From what I understand, it takes 10 hours to build that thing. Solid hours.
Yeah, it looks huge.
if you were to start from, man, my friend of mine got the Doctor Who little set thingy that you play with the video game or whatever. It took us ages just to build a time gate. I mean, we were there for 2 hours, but
Well, a quick sidebar on Lego. The first or one of the first big sets I got was that Death Star that they had come out with.
Oh yeah.
But for some reason, the first generation of that, which is the one that I got, the bags and the book, the instruction booklets weren't numbered. So literally, it was just one massive phone book and a bunch of unmarked bags, and they somehow expect you to dedicate half a floor of your house to sorting out pieces before you could even start to try to figure out what you're doing with that. And I've actually never built that thing because I was just like, you got to be kidding me! I don't know what to do with that. That's like a retirement project.
Yeah, definitely one for when you get a little older, I think, and to get your patience nice and melted on. But what were your why did you set up Mezco? Was there a particular were you like saying, oh God, we can do that, or I really wanted to do that? I mean, was there some particular catalyst that started you founding Mezco? How did you go about founding Mezco for starters?
Okay, so the start of the catalyst was that I was working in a family business in the apparel industry. At some point, my dad retired. And I was running the business. We were a domestic importer. We decided to, importing was killing us. Just the playing field of the industry was changing. And I had no great passion or love for making girls' dresses. Go figure. Now, of course, Living Dead Dolls has changed that a lot. But anyway, so I just decided to get out of that, get off the hook with being responsible for the whole shebang. And I was at that, I guess 30-something decision where I could have gone to work for another company in that profession, since I did have a good 360-degree knowledge of the business, from production to sales to managing to whatever. Or I could go for making toys, which is what, like I said, I really always wanted to do. So, I just said, to hell with it. I'm going to go for it. I don't want to be older and feel like I missed out on an opportunity, and I was young enough to be disillusioned enough to realize that I might be able to do it.
Disillusion can create greatness sometimes, I find.
Right, that's right. That or alcohol, but I don't drink anymore, so I have to go with the other. But so that just started a process of trying to figure out how to do that. Which really started with, I had started a company called Mezco Incorporated, Mezco Inc. I was at a horror fan show called Chiller and met up with this guy named Stefan Linder, who was a garage kit modeler from Sweden, I believe.
Right.
He had this beautiful Nosferatu garage kit that he had sculpted based off of the poster artwork for the Nosferatu movie, not based off of Max Schreck's likeness or anything.
Right.
So I linked up with him. I started the process with that. From there, for anybody who's kind of followed the company, it's not a big secret, but I had linked up with Digger from Art Asylum. We had started a joint venture called Aztec Toys, pushed forward that Silent Screamers line. That partnership kind of ran its course and dissolved after the first Silent Screamers line. And at that point, I decided, instead of continuing with Aztec Toys, since Aztec Toys was kind of a portion of Mezco Toys and whatever, just to kind of clean up everything without getting long-winded. Just rebranded under Mezco Toys and kind of moved forward from there. And from there, we did a second Silent. I think the first year of Mezco Toys, we did a second Silent Screamers line.
What year are we talking here?
I don't know. We're talking about 17 years ago, I guess.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, late 90s, 98, 99, as I remember. Yeah.
Right. So it was we had picked up, I think, Reservoir Dogs, Popeye. We continued with Silent Screamers. I started my partnership with Ed and Damien on Living Dead Dolls. So we had Living Dead Dolls. And we did one of my dream projects, which quickly almost put me out of business, which was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Oh.
One of my favorite toys of all time, but really, again, kind of being young and not knowing better in hindsight, a little bit of a dangerous terrain to negotiate, and I think Scary Tales. And we got very lucky. Look, McFarlane was kind of like really just not just starting out, but really just changing the playing field of collectible toys and raising that bar, and kind of taking what was happening in garage kits and putting it into stores as figures. So there was that initial collector's bubble happening at retail.
Yeah.
And it just made it easier for a startup, smaller company like me to kind of get into doors immediately, where I could, work with a Toys R Us or a KB Toys at the time when they were in existence, and really just kind of be able to quickly market and sell product, because there was such a large reception to that, and there was a large retail base for it. There was, retailers like Musicland, which were fantastic, Tower Records, a lot of them who don't exist anymore. But
even HMV in the UK.
They've lost a lot of them.
Look, we've lost a lot of collectible companies and a lot of retailers. So it's sometimes it's a matter. People ask me, what's your secret to staying in business? And I'm like, I'm too stubborn to quit. That's the thing, because really, if I was a rational person, there would have been times along the path where I was like, sometimes what Kenny Rogers says is right, and you just got to know when to walk away and know when to run. But I just don't.
Well, I'm thankful you haven't, to be honest. But
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you guys having me on the show. It's an honor.
We're delighted to see again that this is your first interview.
This is my first interview in a long time. Look, when I first started the company, I kind of made myself more accessible. I was not as privy to some of the insanity of look. I appreciate all of my fans, and they're fantastic, and all of the fans of the brands that we support. But they're like with anything, there's just drama and insanity in anything.
Yeah.
So at some point, I kind of just separated myself from that, and I said, let me focus on doing the best I can in my business. So yeah, it's been a long time since I've done an interview. And,
excellent.
and
we're extremely honoured to have you, sir. Absolutely delighted, because, as I said, we've been raving about yourself, but we're gonna get onto some juicy stuff in a bit. But what we're gonna do, if it's okay with you, we're gonna field out a few questions. So what I did was I went on Facebook on the Mezco groups, and I went on Sideshow Freaks and asked the folks on there to lob us a few questions. So some of these are going to be a little bit random and out of sync and stuff, but I'm sure they will always inspire, as always, with these interviews that we have on the Hottoycast. Some good old conversation can be sprung from a few little topics that we can kind of stumble into. But Mike, did you want to take on the first question?
Sure, I'll take one here. Hey, this is like the standard nerd question that gets asked every time.
Yeah.
So if you could choose, if there was like one intellectual property, one license you could get your hands on that you haven't, what would it be, and why?
If there was one brand or license I could get my hand on, well, all right, so I kind of have to answer that question a little bit backwards. If there were two reasons that I got into making figures, I would say that it's Frank Miller's Dark Knight and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Those are some of my favorite, like, mainstay, just things that really push my geek buttons. I'm a massive Batman fan. I love the Indiana Jones brand. Raiders of the Lost Ark is probably my #1 favorite movie.
Yay!
Yeah, it's a great. I just like that old pulpy, and and Miller has a very Pulp Fiction-y vibe in a lot of his work as well. I just really am drawn to that stuff.
Yeah.
So I've been really lucky that I could. If I wanted to, not that I'm going to, but if I wanted to, I could check one of those off of my list already. So there's one more to go, but I would say that those are the brands that really are. That was a deep sigh. I don't know who did that, but that are close to me. But there are so many things that I enjoy. Like I was saying earlier about when I was buying toys as a kid and playing with them, that it kind of morphs. I mean, we've been very fortunate. I love the Marvel brand. DC and Marvel and Warner Brothers cartoons pretty much raised me anyway. It's great to be able to kind of play in their sandbox a little bit and be able to utilize their brands and bring some product that we think is cool, to market.
Well, you must have been absolutely delighted with the final result of your Dark Knight figure and the variations of it and stuff. I think that was the one that really, I think, that was when everyone really paid attention to this particular format of figure, I think. But
yeah, I was happy. I mean, I'm always a terrible critic of our own work. So and when you develop a product, it's so easy to see all the things that you could have done better.
Yeah.
Just because you're so in depth with it through every process. That unfortunately, we do have plans of extending that line. It's just there's a big calendar juggling thing that we have to kind of work out. As well as we were planning on expanding the Dark Knight Returns line a little bit quicker, but then the Dawn of Justice movie opportunity came into our lap, and I felt like both Warner Brothers and I collectively felt like it would have there's only so many of these products I could get out in a year before I'm just asking the end consumer to give too much to one thing. So I try to consider that as best I can within, using some business calculations as well of, stuff that we got to do. So we kind of like tapered back on the Dark Knight Returns and focused a little bit on Dawn of Justice. And now we got to get the Dark Knight Returns stuff back into hopper because we've already developed a Superman, a Joker. We have pre-development on a bunch of other characters. If I had my way, I'd make that whole comic book down to like, Batman dressed in the homeless costume when he's in the liquor store, down to like the guy that falls in the subway tracks, like everything. Like I'm just that book has made a big impression on me.
I think it's one of the most important books in the world, I think, and for a lot of people, there's so many things, so many creative minds have been kicked off from it, like that kind of book. So it's I think Frank Miller should be very happy with that.
You can always tell, too, when somebody truly loves a license they're working on, when a company really loves a license they're working on, because of the amount of detail and the amount of love that goes into it. So that's apparent in the 112 Collective Dark Knight stuff.
Oh, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Now, do you visit do you alert the boards at all? I mean, do you keep an eye on message boards and stuff? I mean, I'm an illustrator myself, and I do sometimes art for various different products like He-Man, the Masters of the Universe, and stuff like that from Mattel. And I'm always like, sometimes it's looking on what people's opinions are can now obviously be both a blessing and a curse sometimes, and you'll always focus on the bad comments more than the good comments, as the case. But for someone like yourself, I'm sure that's an pretty extreme thing. That, I mean, so do you go on the message boards and check out what folks are saying and whatnot?
I don't. I haven't in a long time, and that's not to discount the value of the feedback that's on there. It's just it's a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
And it should, at the end of the day, because I used to and message boards are a little bit simple when I first started doing this. The terrain of the internet and social networking and all that stuff has changed so much, but it's a lot to try to manage. So some people in my office do it, and and within meetings we definitely discuss some of those comments and feedbacks, but I don't personally do it just because. At the end of the day, really, my opinion is our best effort is to just, we're all fans here. Our product is like, made by collectors for collectors. So, to that end, we just try to do what we really think is the best product we can do, and hope that it finds its market and that people agree with us. And so that's I don't personally go on the boards anymore.
Cool, fair enough. That's understandable. It's a bit of a minefield sometimes, I'd imagine. So I would imagine that's what might kind of maybe, if you paid attention too much, it would clutter your own outlook on certain things as well. I find that anyway myself. But
and I'm a little bit of a New Yorker, and I'm a little bit of a reactionist. So the last thing I want to do is start like starting an account and getting in a fight with somebody over some nonsense. The last thing I need to do with my time.
That's a dangerous slope. I'll tell you. I know from experience. I'll tell you. Mike,
one of the things that was sort of a trademark for Mezco was sort of the stylized approach to sculpts and designs. You could always tell a Mezco figure back in the day. One of the questions here is, what is it that made you take more of an ultra-realistic head sculpt approach with the 112 collective stuff now?
So in formulating the idea behind the 112 collective line, excuse me, the overall mission statement is to have everything have a real world look. So even when we're, all right, so something as 2D as Space Ghost, we're trying to take that and as much as possible while not drifting, unrecognizably away from the source material, make things seem like they exist in a real world and that all of these things can be displayed and work together within its own universe, so that when we're doing I'll try to keep brands together just for the sake of my licensing partners. So if we're doing a DCU Superman or a DCU Flash or a DCU Green Arrow, I want that to be able to sit on a shelf and look like it doesn't conflict with a Dawn of Justice Superman and a Dawn of Justice Batman, and so on and so forth. So so the idea is that everything kind of exists within this one real world universe. So to that end, that's why you'll see some tweaks on designs as well as portrait sculpts that are much more realistic than some of the stylized stuff, which I tremendously enjoy. Within the line, it's kind of just pull everything together and keep everything in a real world look.
Gotcha. Why did you go at 112 specifically, that scale?
Well, for a couple reasons. First of all, for the same reason I got into the toy business, because I'm a glutton for punishment. Look, you've got great companies like Hot Toys and Sideshow and Enterbay doing 1/6 scale stuff, and to kind of enter that market, and I left a lot of companies out, so I apologize for those companies. I'm just thinking quickly, but to get into that market, I think that market has enough, if not slightly a crowded playing field already. I also like the idea of 6 to 7 inch scale figures. I just like that scale as far as something to collect and play with. And the other thing is if I was able to figure out a way to bring that 1/6 scale figure experience on some level, that high end 1/6 scale figure experience to a 112 scale figure, I felt like we had something really new and fresh. And, you're talking about spending about a third of the money of a 12-inch figure on a 6-inch figure. We generally have, a lot of accessories, a lot of bells and whistles. And I think it's a great value as well as for the end collector, aside from trying to make something a little bit more appealing on their pocket. You could probably display about 3 of them for every one you display of a 12-inch figure. So that was kind of the thinking behind it.
Well, that's why, in my opinion, it might be better opting to go because I'm hoping that you're going to release the entire Star Trek crew, and so I mean, would that be a fair guess that you will eventually get to all of the original crew?
So is it a fair guess? It's our plan, but a lot of that depends. There's always that double-edged sword where people will, because even though I don't troll boards, I do talk to people at conventions and stuff, sometimes for better or for worse, but where, I get asked the question, well, should I invest in this line? Are you going to make everything? And it's like, well, which came first, the chicken or the egg? If the line is not supported, then it's hard to, on a business end, continue with it, right? So yeah, we want to make the whole crew. I can't tell you we're going to make the whole crew because I'm pretty sure there was a lot of people on that ship. But if by the whole crew you mean the core crew, like like branching out into McCoy, O'Hara, Chekhov, Scotty, they're all on a list. I can't tell you that they're all in my immediate production schedule. We have a lot of brands right now, and like I said, we need to control the amount of product we're putting out a year, and I think that we're at a pretty aggressive clip already. And part of it is the learning curve of this line has delayed things a little bit, just because it's more important for me to get it right and let it be late than to push it out. I'm not married to a retail situation with this line, which is a little bit of a benefit on a timing end, because if I need to delay a line just to make sure that it's correct, this is the line to do it. So like to that end, a lot of our product got truncated more towards third and fourth quarter this year, which is something I'm been working, which is why I'm jet lagged, working hard to resolve, so that ultimately I'm looking to get out a core figure a month with whatever its variants or counterparts may be. Like, let's say a Flash and a Professor Zoom would be timed around the same time and whatnot. So to that end, and I know I'm babbling, but sorry.
No, babble away. It's all good.
A lot of coffee, a lot of coffee, a little sleep. The complete Trek crew is something we'd like to do. Next up, who we're looking at is McCoy, just because I like him as a character. I think that, and he's always been kind of like Jim's rock. Jim being Captain Kirk. Yeah. So, we're just developing our female bodies. So O'Hara would probably be a little bit later in the game, because we have a couple of female characters that we're looking to push out ahead of her. And, hopefully we'll get, at least a comprehensive bridge crew done.
Now, here's an interesting question, and Mike, you take over the next question after this. But here's one. This is going to seem very odd. Why did you include? And I have a guess. I have a reason why, but I'm just interested to see what answer you might give to this. Why did you include a little plastic baggie with the Dread figure?
To be honest, I bit that from another company, and I think it was Mass Specs or something. I don't remember. But the idea is that you can put your accessories in there to kind of so you don't lose them.
Ah, right. So, okay. I thought it was to fit like the whole figure in there that you kind of put in your little pocket and kind of take it with you on holidays or whatever.
A little body bag.
just a little body bag for your figure, so you can take your figure away on holiday and stuff. Because sometimes you're away on a long holiday, you might want to have a little fiddle with a figure.
Yeah, no. So one Japanese figure I purchased came with one, and I was like, "Damn, that's a clever idea." And without being shameful, I just So there's a lot of small parts. I mean, I buy Hot Toys and Sideshow and Cementa Bay stuff, and even at that scale, there's a lot of small parts. And I'm a take my stuff out of the box kind of guy, and I figure, okay, well, if this is a good idea on how to kind of organize and not lose all of these small parts, let's utilize it.
Cool. I love that. I see things like that. I love those ideas. Mike?
Let's see if there's any additional news on a couple of the lines. Like the Mortal Kombat Classic line was pretty well received, especially from critics. It was a nicely done line, and of course everybody's pretty happy with the large Thundercats Classics. Any villains coming with Thundercats Classics, and what do we got coming with Mortal Kombat?
Okay, so for Thundercats, right now we're marketing Tigra. That rounds out the adult core team. Plus, we did Mumra, who came with ancient, old, crangly Mumra.
I've got that one. Glow in the dark. I got the glow in the dark one.
Yeah, he might be my favorite of the whole line.
He's wicked.
But anyway, a great line. I was very happy with the way that all came out. I don't foresee any more villains within that. We have some more categories with Thundercats, which we will ultimately dive into, but not anytime soon because Mattel is actually doing some of that right now. So we'll probably wait until that's run its course and eventually introduce Thundercats into the 112 collective. As far as the mega scale vinyl figures, I don't think so.
Okay, good. I think a lot of folks will be interested in that one. All right, well, we're going to go through some random questions now again. Sorry.
Do you want me to answer the Mortal Kombat question or?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
My bad.
I got to keep you guys honest. So yeah, we are still currently marketing the Mortal Kombat X, which is the 10th game in the game's lineup, and then Classic Mortal Kombat, which I'm not trying to correct you, Mike, but we haven't done any Classic Mortal Kombat yet. Mortal Kombat is coming up on a anniversary next year. So we're looking at a couple of opportunities on what we can do with real true classic Mortal Kombat, which might include some more 6-inch figures, some 112 collective figures, and some larger figures. We're still kind of hashing that out. It's you know, I don't know if it's just the way I run my business or if it's the nature of the company, but you know, we have a production schedule that runs out to 2018, yet somehow we're still figuring out what we're doing next month, and everything's just kind of moving in parts like the pyramid from Aliens versus Predator.
Indeed.
So like it's on the schedule, it's blown out there into the schedule, and yet we're still trying to work out exactly what that is.
Cool. All right. Will you guys consider a Todd McFarlane version of Marvel's Venom first and second appearance?
Well, I am familiar with Todd McFarlane and his work on Spider-Man. I'm not intimately familiar enough to know exactly what his first and second appearance of Venom was. I'd have to look that up. But again, within the 112, we kind of establish what we feel that core character should look like within that real world universe that we're building. And that takes a lot of nods from a lot of different source material within the comic books, and then implement that into the character. So I can't tell you that we will do a exact Todd McFarlane first or second appearance Venom, but I could tell you that, you know, when we work on Venom, that I'm sure his work with that character will be part of the influence on that character.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. Mike?
All right. You mentioned earlier that the potential of Thundercats moving over to 112 once Mattel winds down with their plans. We know that Masters of the Universe Classics is starting to wind down over on the Mattel side, and they've also been pretty lenient lately, or at least more open to letting other companies do stuff with the license. Any interest in doing some Masters of the Universe 112?
There is interest. It's not a conversation that I've had with Mattel yet, so that's. And it is on my list. You know, we keep a long-running list of stuff that we want to do within 112. That's for sure on the list, and probably on the list more importantly for some of the guys that work with me than for me, because I'm a little bit older. So I was not a Master of the Universe guy when I was a kid. I was a little bit too old for that. But I love the brand. But it's not something that we're in the works with right now.
Yes, well, from a personal standpoint, I would love that. That would be really awesome. I'm a huge.
I think it would be cool. I mean, on that end, we just put together a deal with Frank Frazzetta's estate.
Oh,
so so we're gonna be doing some stuff based off of his artwork in the 112 collective, starting with his Barbarian.
You're joking.
And no, I'm not joking. I mean, I'm a joker, but I'm not joking. But and then hopefully branch it out from there into other characters like his Death Dealer. And he's got some great artwork that we could have.
Oh man, that is music to my ears, sir. Oh, I'm a huge Frazetta fan. I've got countless of his statues here at home and stuff like that, and I do packaging boxes and design for ARH Studios, who did all their Frazetta stuff as well. So I'm very, very, very excited. That's great news, actually. Mike, you're a Frazetta fan, aren't you?
Yeah.
Who isn't? The guy was brilliant.
That's right. Who isn't?
exactly.
he defined a look of a genre. You know, it's not often you see that.
Oh, that's exciting news. That's exciting news. Well, I'm too excited to ask the next question. Mike, go on. You take the next one. I'm rolling. I'm rolling on that one.
How about more Space Ghost figures like Brack or Zoltan? Maybe a talk show desk?
So okay.
Talk show desk.
So again, we have the rights to Hanna-Barbera characters. I never really considered Space Ghost Coast to Coast, and again, kind of within. I hate to be repeating myself so much, but within that universe or world that we're building, that the 112 Collective should fit in, I feel like maybe Space Ghost Coast to Coast might be a little bit off.
Cartoony?
Well, not cartoony because the whole thing is cartoony, right? Like,
yeah.
But just a little bit too tongue-in-cheek for I think we're establishing. And to answer your question about like villains from the show, I'd love to, but I would not be being transparent if I told you that it's in the works. So our next efforts towards that is either Thundar or Birdman. My real goal is I grew up watching those cartoons when I was a kid. You know, that whole block of Space Ghost, and I think it was Dino Boy, and Birdman and Mytor. Right. So I'm getting nervous when we get towards the Herculoids, just because you can't just do one character. You have to do the whole family and the monsters, right? Or the creatures.
They're going to be a challenge.
So that's almost like, again, within me saying I need to limit the amount of characters that I'm asking a consumer to buy or people to support within a year. That's more than half a year's worth of product if I was to address Herculoids. But where I could do one-off hero characters that might have a sidekick or something, then that's what we're looking to do. So next up for like our Hanna-Barbera heroes line would be either Birdman or Thundar. Midor's on the list. There's a lot of fun to have there, but I don't know if going deep into villains is the right move for that brand for us.
I'm a big fan of Mytor, so I'll be definitely down for a Mytor. I'll tell you, definitely. Oh, I like him because he's kind of like
Frazetta, Mytor, He-Man. Somebody's a sword and sorcerer guy.
All right, I'll give you a little picture here, Mez. In front of me right here, I am set right in front of a Spartan shield from NECA, the big huge Spartan shield. Alongside that Spartan shield, I have a original Albion, the people who made Marto, the original swords from the Conan the Barbarian movie, the Atlantean sword, and on the other side of that, the Father sword. So yeah.
You're not wearing a fur cape and a loincloth while
No,
we're talking,
not today.
right?
Not today. Not today. And in front of me here, I've got the actual Conan helmet from the movie, again made by the same company, and the battle axe, which my girlfriend bought me. Not sure what that's saying, but she bought me that for Christmas one time. The battle axe.
As long as it's two consenting adults, I'm not judging.
What will she do with that battle axe? Who knows? All right, I'm going to go on to the next question. Swiftly moving on. How likely or unlikely would it be for you guys to license and make 1/6 Legend of Zelda, preferably Twilight Princess?
Again, that's very much on our list. We have not had any talks with Nintendo that have moved things forward in a way where I could say it's likely. But it's within the brands that we feel are, top 10, top 15 brands on our list. That's right there. So I'd love to make that happen. But it's not happening right now. It's just a matter of me working harder to make it happen.
Right. Okay. Cool. Mike?
About how many figures, not including variants, do you actually plan on putting out each year? We've kind of touched on that issue a couple times about how much a buyer could manage to buy. So what really are the plans on a year-to-year basis?
So the general plan as it stands now is 12 figures a year, which should trying to get things to be right versus on time, and where that doesn't always line up, a lot of things got truncated into the end of the year this year. I think one figure rolled over from last year into this year, which makes this year I think 13 figures, if I remember correctly. I can't tell you. I have a count on this off the top of my head, but the idea is for the core figures, not including variants or spin-offs like a Professor Zoom to Flash, 12 figures a year.
Well, that's one a month.
That's one a month if I could get them to come out monthly. Yes.
Does it kind of bottleneck a little bit then from time to time? Then that you'll have to manage 3 kind of or 4 up to multiple kind of deliveries or multiple kind of manufacturing points, if you will. Yeah,
well, look, I'll tell you on the Dread figure and on the Lawmaster Dread's motorcycle, I needed to scrap things that were already in production because I just felt they weren't right. Dread's outfits came out and they weren't looking right to me. Unfortunately, we have for a company my size, we have a pretty complicated quality control system, which goes from guys that I have going to my factory. They're not my factories, but the factories we use to check stuff on site, to my Hong Kong office working on pre-production stuff, to stuff getting sent here for us to approve. So at some point, Dread's outfit had moved forward past 2 of those 3 checkpoints, and when I started seeing stuff that was rolling off the line, I said, nope, that's not fitting right. It looked wrong, and they had to scrap a whole bunch of that and rework and remake the outfits. That delayed things a lot. And the same thing with the Lawmaster. Some of the paint I felt was not where I wanted it to be. We're fortunate now that we're starting to source and find some factories that are working in much higher end collectibles, factories that other companies, like I mentioned before, are using. But initially, the Lawmaster was at a factory that does they're not as familiar with the stringent requirements of a high end collectible, and without knocking what they did, the paint just wasn't looking right to me, and I stopped them off production. I scrapped what they did and moved everything to another factory, which hopefully is better for the product, but unfortunately was hellacious for the schedule.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, are these kind of factors in kind of is it word of mouth that you would learn about, and obviously through trial and error as well, what factors? Because obviously there's skill is a special thing, and these factors, some of them will have just a higher skilled workforce than others. And
oh wow, I'm sorry. I should probably quit my email so we don't have to hear that. Honestly, that's a whole podcast within itself to answer that question. There's a couple of things because it's interesting and it's challenging working with factories in China. I've been doing this for some time now, almost 2 decades, and some factories I've been using literally for that whole time. So these are factories that I know what they can do. I can trust them. And then there are factories that we find that, we have to try out to see where they go and, learn what their strengths and weaknesses are. And then there are factories that we have sourced that specialize in this product. But, without getting into the nuances of my business, there's a lot of things that come into play with that. There's how we work together. There's pricing, which is, the unfortunate reality of doing business. If I'm not making money, I can't make more product to ship. And I might as well just go get on a boat and try to save whales, which I'm not against, but it's not what I'm trying to do here.
It's not on your priority list.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we'll go with that. I got nothing against whales. If any whales,
we are very pro whale here on this podcast, everybody. Okay.
We're going to have a whale on as a guest here very soon.
Yeah. So there's a lot of components that go into analyzing and allocating work to a factory, and as it so happened, just specifically with the Dread Lawmaster. we'd had a factory that is a factory that I've used for a while that was ready to make it, was able to make it, and they would have had the skill set to get done what I needed to. Unfortunately, the tooling ran late, which then prohibited it from falling into their production schedule because they needed to fill that hole that they had set aside for us to run the production because they needed to make money and turn on the lights as well, which ultimately cause and effect made me move it over to another factory, which we started working with. That didn't work out, and then ultimately I had found this factory that's running it now that wound up improving it.
So the factory was different than the Batman, for instance, on Dredd?
The factory that did Dredd and Batman did the figures. The factory that I mentioned that was initially going to do the motorcycle was the factory that did Dredd and Batman. Right. That's the one that it had to move out of their production schedule. Yeah, so it's not as simple as just making a pretty prototype and sending it over to the North Pole and having elves magically make the stuff. Unfortunately. Yeah,
of course, because obviously maybe the prototype would have apps and things like that that just might be just too much time and all, because it's hours and stuff like that as well. I mean, you got these people. I mean, how many? Like on the Dredd figure now, for instance. Now, I mean, you've got the head sculpting is crazy tight on this, and the detailing and the kind of plastics that you're using are, for such a small thing, are able to hold. I mean, how long did it take you to get the kind of like the plastic? You know, because the plastic is really nice on the hands. The hands pop in. You know, I like yourself. I've and Mike as well. You know, we get a lot of figures and stuff like that. And so quality is a big deal with me. You know, so I do like my quality. So how did you manage? Did it take a long time to get that kind of plastic process right? To get the right consistency of things would pop in, the magnets on the shoulders, and all these kind of things. How long did the Dredd initially take to kind of get right, or from start to finish?
It took a while, and honestly, and I appreciate that you feel that we got it so right. But yeah, you know, it's like the magnets on the shoulders. That was a challenge. That was a lot of back and forth, and you know, at some point, one of the engineers in my Hong Kong office had figured out the magnet thing, because the initial idea was kind of a ball bearing articulated post that would move. The big thing with Dredd on those shoulder pads is that they're just not practical. No. And they do nothing but block movement. I mean, so we knew we were going to make a bike, and I knew I wanted Dredd's right arm to be able to come forward when he was pointing a gun. So you know, the initial idea was to have those be articulated on a double ball bearing post, but it wound up not being stable enough and reliable enough, and it was pushing the pads too far away. So one of the guys in my Hong Kong office came up with the idea for the magnets, but then that was a lot of back and forth on what are the right magnets, how to get those magnets to stay in place properly, blah blah blah, just whatever minutia. As far as getting everything right with the plastics and all that stuff, you would think that would be easy after doing this for almost 20 years, but it's always a new riddle. It's like for some reason, it's just kind of the nature of the toy business. Something that you've done 50 times before is still brand new every time you do it. I don't know why. Again, it could be the way Mezco does things. It could just be the nature of the beast. I'm not really sure.
I got a follow-up here to this same conversation here. One of the questions on here was about DC characters being difficult, but in general, is there characters that you've kind of wanted to do already, and the technical difficulties are still there in the 6 to 7 inch scale that are still sort of blocking your ability? I know when the line first started, you and I talked about suits. And
yes.
Multi-layer suits being a problem, and now I see Frank's coming, and
yeah. So I'm very lucky that I work with a really great team of people. There's by no stretch of the imagination that anybody listening to this should assume that somehow I'm magically responsible for all this, because I'm not. I have a lot of good people that have a lot of good experience, a lot of good thought processing, and we all put it together as a team. So yeah, one of the initial challenges with this line, as you and I, Mike, had discussed in person, I think maybe at San Diego a couple of years ago, and if I'm wrong, then I'll just, in my head, it's in San Diego a couple of years ago. But anyway.
Close enough.
Yeah, close enough. That, the challenge, one of the biggest challenges with the 112 Collective is that everything is half the scale of a 12-inch figure. A 12-inch figure is, far smaller than a human, like a 1-to-1 scale person. The fabrics aren't getting any thinner. Thread and seam lines don't get in. You can make a seam line thinner, but at some point there's only so thin it could be, and it's how to kind of work all of that stuff to be able to be aesthetically correct on something so small. So one of my initial challenges was exactly what you're talking about, something like a layered outfit where the Joker, who's wearing a shirt, a vest, a jacket, and then an overcoat, as well as tailored pants, and how to get all those layers to really work. And Mike, and I guess you could delete this if I'm not supposed to say this, but I know you worked with Flat World back in the day, and are somewhat familiar with some of those nuances and challenges, and what that format did, which, Flat World was really kind of like one of the first stepping stones for what I'm doing, because that was taking that Mego format and raising the bar on it. I remember, being very impressed with the Dracula figure that had come out through Flat World. But a lot of that was techniques in how to cheat the outfits. Like it's not a full shirt, the shirt's assembled, into the jacket, whatever, to try to reduce layers, which still needs to be done. But we're just, it's the challenge of trying to figure out how to do that while still getting the look of that 1/6 scale collectible figure in a 6-inch figure. We've made some really great strides in that. We have a very complicated Red Skull outfit coming out that I was surprised how well that really worked. But there's always challenges. Look, face paints. I think that the face paint on our Spock figure I'm super happy with. I think that the factory that we're working with and the guy in my Hong Kong office who's managing that job really produced something that was above and beyond my expectations, which is generally hard to do because I'm pretty finicky and I have pretty high expectations. So it's all of those components, just getting those right and trying to get them to line up correctly and get them onto the product and get it all done is always a challenge. But I do think that we're learning and problem solving as we go along. And I think that just having the benefit of being able to analyze some 1/6 scale figures and what they do, and then just trying to engineer that down is so much more helpful, honestly, than trying to figure it all out on our own.
How am I sounding now?
Better.
A little better.
A little better.
Yeah.
All right, just give it a couple more seconds. It does this every hour. But we'll boot through the last few questions now because we're coming up nearly an hour now anyway. So, okay, how am I sounding? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you sound fine now.
Okay,
At least to me.
Okay, cool. I hope this will record well. It usually does. If it sounds okay, if it sounds okay on mine, it usually is okay. Okay, so are you? Let's see. Where are we? Oh yeah, are we going to see lots of villains and females in the next reveals, or will it be predominantly male heroes? You did actually mention you're currently working on a new female body, so that's going to be quite exciting. Anything you can reveal there?
We'll reveal it at Comic-Con. We're working on some female characters. Just to kind of loop this back into the question that we were just discussing. One of the biggest challenges that was actually a surprise to me is the bodies, the buck bodies themselves, because it's not like a traditional injected figure where whatever the articulation is that you're looking at is how you're going to look at it. It's almost like how that acts underneath the clothing. And that's been a challenge, and the female figure has been far more challenging just because there's a lot more subtlety and nuances to a female figure. You can hide stuff in muscle and bulk that you can't hide in a female figure, even if they're muscly. But yeah, so we're working on some female figures. We're gonna debut one of them at Comic-Con in July. And as far as villains go, I love the idea of villains, and I love the idea of counterparts that work with the characters that we're doing. So we're absolutely doing villains. It's not the focus of the line, but that's not to say that it's not being neglected from the line. So yes, there'll be villains, and there will be females.
Oh, I just thought of a great villain for the Gorn. Gorn would be nice.
Yep, that would be cool.
I'm a big Star Trek fan as well. Original series, of course. Love it.
Well, then I hope you're enjoying what we're doing.
I'm absolutely loving it. I can't wait to get the Spock. They look so good. And onto the facial likenesses, actually. We did have a question on the facial likeness. Or did we cover it? We covered that, didn't we?
Yeah, we covered it.
We covered it. Yeah, but
keep up, Eamon.
Keep up. No, the likenesses, like Sulu was particularly good. Like Sulu was really...
Yeah.
I mean, Spock was great, but Spock obviously he's such a severe-looking man himself anyway. He was maybe easier to sculpt, I'd imagine, than someone like Sulu who's got more subtleties. And indeed, Kirk. I'd say Kirk was a bit of a headache.
Oh, he must be. He's always been difficult for anybody to capture really well.
I think we did. I'm happy with the job we got done on all three of them, and that's really. I have a portrait sculptor that's on staff that is just phenomenal. Like we're gonna hopefully be able to show some of our Ghostbusters line in San Diego that we're doing in the 112 Collective, and the portrait sculpts. God, if for some reason that the licensors ask us to change them, it would be a shame. They look phenomenal. Like the guy that I have working on the portraits he's really a talented dude, and he can really just nail it.
Well, just rewind there a second there. Ghostbusters. Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, and the boys. The whole gang.
Yeah, the whole gang.
Excellent.
Oh my God, I liked the way you said it so casually there. That's like a bit of a that's a hell of a nugget.
Yeah, that's gonna be a huge deal because there's a renewed interest in the originals with the new film coming out. I've noticed that even in the re-releases of the kind of cheesy Mattel figures.
I love Ghostbusters. I mean, that was a film that I grew up on that I enjoy. So it's great to work on it, and even I'll tell you, like the outfits. I don't want to sound like I'm tooting our own horn too much, but we got an initial test outfit on the jumpsuit, and I was like, holy. All right, I'm not supposed to curse. I was like, wow! I can't believe that they got all those things done. That looks like amazing. I was really impressed. It doesn't just look like some one-piece jumpsuit. It has all the little pockets and all the stuff, and it's I was like, damn, look at that.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, I'm excited for Ghostbusters. I think people are going to be happy with what we're showing.
And
great.
I've got to ask the obvious question. Sorry, Mike. Would we be considering an Ecto One in any of this as possible? Because that's ambitious, and that'd be big.
Well, Eman, I'm working on vehicles as we speak. We showed a Batmobile at Toy Fair that I am. It's one of the reasons I was in Hong Kong and China for the last month, just trying to work out the practicalities of making that thing and not breaking the bank on it, which I think we're really close to. So I'm excited about that. So assuming that there's a market for vehicles and that we figure out a way to get it done that works, and again, within the 112 Collective, I don't want to do a vehicle unless I could get lights and sounds and all the bells and whistles in there. I would love to do an Echo One. I can't tell you I'll ever do the Firehouse, because I'm pretty sure Echo One might cost more than the Lego Firehouse, and there's only so much of a target price point that I want to fly against. But yeah, I think an Echo One would be phenomenal.
I think we'd be very happy with the four boys in our
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of lines that we love, what's up for Universal Monsters after Frankenstein?
So we have a whole horror section that we're dedicating within the 112 Collective. So we have Universal Monsters Frankenstein. Coming up next will be a Evil Dead 2 Ash figure, a Pinhead figure, and then we will continue on with Universal Monsters. There's some complicated waters within Universal Monsters that just need to be kind of ironed out, which is not really on my end, and I don't want to get into it too much because this is just business between me and my licensing partners. But there's absolute definite intention to do more Universal Monsters, and again, being the finicky guy that I am, I was really happy with our Boris Karloff Frankenstein. I think that he looks fantastic. I couldn't have expected him to come out better. So I'm excited to do more Universal Monsters. I love those movies. That's kind of what set off what has become horror movie like anti-hero monster icons that we have now.
Well, given that they're revisiting that whole Universal thing as well, with talks of like Mummy and Tom Cruise and these huge stars doing these Universal Monsters and things. I mean, it'll be even more popular again, I reckon, because people will tend to revisit.
We hope so.
Europe listeners, look no further than Space. Space, search for popular action figures and collectibles ends. The best service possible and steady accessibility by email and telephone is one of the top priorities at Space. They carry a wide range of collectibles, not only from major brands like Sideshow, Hot Toys, Enterbay, NECA and McFarlane, but they also specialise in the exotic and small new manufacturers. A very important department to them is their 1/6 scale section, which is currently getting bigger and bigger, offering lots of clothes, bodies, head sculpts and accessories. Hot Toys is of course one of their specialities, so you can pre-order all newly announced figures from their web store. They often have Hot Toys figures in stock earlier than any other dealers. They are also the best source in Europe for convention exclusives. Space loves what they do, so you can depend on them for secure packaging, ensuring your items reaches you in mint condition. In-stock items get processed normally the same day. Pre-ordering customers will be notified in advance once an item arrives in stock and before it gets shipped. Space is located in Germany and offers clearly arranged shipping flat rates to all European countries. On most destinations you can even get free shipping. For EU customers, this of course means that you will not be surprised by any customs fees or import taxes. Space is serving us collectors with the finest items for over 15 years. If you're located anywhere in Europe, do go to Space. www.space-figures.com. Right, well, we've got some very specific questions here for some fans regarding shipping. And is there any way to lower the shipping price on the Mezco site? $15 to ship one drives me to buy them elsewhere, he's saying. He's saying they're quite expensive. Is there anything that you guys can do about that? And allowing folks to bundle figures to save on shipping costs, like Big Bad Toy Store does, or the possibility of a Sideshow collector type monthly code rewards points, or that type of subscription service. Just little things like that. Bit
okay, well,
chew on there.
So the $15 shipping thing, honestly, I to be completely transparent, which I generally am for better or for worse, I don't mind the e-commerce that much. It's kind of its own division. I don't know, if somebody's on the West Coast and we're shipping from the East Coast and they're getting hit with the $15 to ship one item, I don't know what item that is. Size and weight and all that stuff go into it. So the $15 shipping thing, I would honestly need to know more about the specific details to try to even start to answer that. But the quick answer is that we just relaunched our website, which hopefully people are noticing. We have a lot of back-end features implemented in that that we didn't have before. So there's the process of getting everything smooth on the new relaunched website, because there's always bugs and stuff comes up and whatever, no matter what you do with technology like that. And then we're always looking to improve and enhance our customer experience. So things like what you're saying, like what a Big Bad Toys does with their what you call it, a pile of loot, I think. Or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Or a rewards program or something are things that we're looking into implementing. I can't tell you it's going to happen immediately. I can't tell you it's going to be something exactly like that. But as much as we're running a business here, which we absolutely are, we also want to be able to deliver things that our end consumers can appreciate in a way that they can appreciate as much as possible, right? Because honestly, at the end of the day, if they don't, they've got lots of other options. So we're absolutely working on trying to improve and enhance that. It's just a process, and that'll start to probably pop up within the next 8 to 12 months. Ultimately, we're working on things that could address some of those issues. I can't tell you whether it's going to be a pile of the loot type of solution or a rewards program type of solution or some other type of solution, but we are working on something that will enhance and help the consumer save some money on shipping.
Excellent. Well, I mean, the whole presentation as well is really good as well. I mean, the packaging on your figures is great. Everything's really nicely done. So, of course, I understand that you want to care as well enough that the whole experience from buying from you guys is a good thing to do as well. Mike, did you have any final thoughts there before we let Mez go on his merry way?
No, I'm pretty well set. It's been great talking to him.
I've been very thoroughly satisfied here. I mean, there's some nuggets on this. There's some real.
And I would like to point out that if you've never had the opportunity to meet Mez in person, he's sort of like the ultimate New York version of Ben Affleck.
Sweet. Well, I'm hoping to get to San Diego Comic-Con this year, so when you'll see about a 6 foot tall Irish guy with red hair going, "Hey, that'll be me." Yeah, I'll be easy to spot.
Right. It would be a pleasure to meet you, and I appreciate the Ben Affleck compliment. I was. It's funny because it happens every time they cast in superhero movies, particularly DC movies, that people start to complain about who they casted. I remember when Heath Ledger was casted, and everybody kind of like,
no, I'm not the guy from Brokeback Mountain.
Right, exactly. Or even when Keaton was casted, it was like, oh, really? Beetlejuice is going to be, he'll play Batman only once, right, or whatever.
He was the best.
But I was excited. I was excited when they announced Ben Affleck because I could just not that I think him and I look like each other, and it would be great if somebody that looked like me played Batman, because I don't think we look like each other. But I thought he would be a great Batman, and after seeing the movie, I think he was a great Batman. I think he was if not my favorite screen Batman, definitely one of my top two.
Absolutely.
I thought he did a great job in that character.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of great jobs, not to butter your bread too much or anything, but you've hit, as I said earlier at the start of the show, you've hit this sweet spot, I think, with these figures, because they are obviously a little bit more expensive, but not the most expensive thing in the world. They're this nice collectible size, and as I said, what I was getting back to about the starter stuff, I'll probably opt to get these because because I can afford to get the whole crew. Now maybe then there'll be hopefully maybe some backdrops, because I know you guys maybe be thinking about backdrops and stuff like that as well for these. So
we're working on a captain's chair with lights and sounds in it, so that should be yeah.
So I think it's you've got this sweet spot, and I think that's why everyone is genuinely so excited. I'm even on I'm on a lot of 1/6 groups on Facebook, and some people have popped up with your Spock and said, "What's this?" And it's like it's 1/12. It's Mezco. Check it out. So it is this lovely, beautiful format that they're so tangible and pick upable. Yeah, Hot Toy is great and stuff like that, and we all love Hot Toys and stuff. But I just think because they're so expensive and things, it's nice to have something that is in that kind of sweet dollar value that you still feel you're getting a really high quality item. Because I'm not going to name another company, but there's another company that deals in slightly bigger figures, and I'm not a huge fan of them. I'm not a huge fan. I find them the colors are muddy, things are overstyled. I don't really like some of the other more not Hot Toys expensive figures, and not 12-inch scale, but like some of the other DC ones that you see and things like that, like from Artifacts and things. I've just named them. They're Artifacts, and I personally don't like that, because while I see that they're really well sculpted and well made, they're not that sweet. There's something about this format that's a sweet spot. It has that action figure, but high quality. It's like you're a kid but you're an adult kind of combo. With Hot Toys, you feel like an adult. With these, the 112th and these Mezcos, you feel like you're a kid and an adult, and you're not remotely guilty about it either, which is good.
Well, I appreciate that, because pretty much if you're going to sum me up, I think an adult kid is pretty much where you'd wind up. So that's great, and I appreciate the compliments on the product. We try our best to do it to deliver good stuff to people. So
well,
thank you, man.
Up and up, Mez, up and up, and thank you very much for coming on our show, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. It was a pleasure talking to you guys. Mike, always a good time catching up with you. Aman, It was a pleasure meeting you. And take care, guys. Hopefully I'll see you both in San Diego.
See you later.
Have a good evening. Take care, man.
Good night, folks. I hope you enjoyed our show. We'll say goodnight to all of you, and catch you on the next podcast. That'll be up in a few weeks' time, so catch us then. Good night, everybody. Have a good night.